Well, it's a sad Easter, just for a change. Very sad. My daughter's father-in-law died last night, Good Friday. And something happened today as well. And now I will make this public. I don't know if that's wise or not. I thought at 61 I had acquired some wisdom, but I don't know. Now it seems that my niece and nephews have been left with the impression that their grandparents and I didn't want to know them. That certainly wasn't the case on my part. And I don't think on their part. I would very much have liked to see far more of my family. I always felt as if I didn't have one. I always felt demonized, as I have said on other videos. And almost ashamed to see my family because I knew what they had been told about me. My extended family, that is. And then, of course, there was the little fact that I was so often ill. In adult life, more mentally than physically, till recently. 13 years of agoraphobia for a start meant, of course, that I couldn't travel from Southampton to Doncaster. I had great difficulty getting there for my father's death and funeral. I made it, but by a very circuitous route, with the help of understanding friends. I feel very much that I missed out on my family. I would have liked to know my niece and my nephews. I would have liked to know my cousins. I could add to that, but I'd better not. As to my mother, she was able to drive. She drove before knowing my father. Physically, she was able to drive. But during the whole of my lifetime, she did not drive. In fact, during the whole of my lifetime, she didn't go anywhere without my father except to take me to school and back. I even went to the shops for her during the week, and she would shop on Saturdays with my father. It's such a cliché, but she was a prisoner in her own home. She couldn't do anything without my father's say-so. And that seemed to apply even when he wasn't there, even when he was away 5 days a week in London. I think she knew that whatever she did would be reported back to him. There is an irony in the fact that my brother's children felt neglected by my parents because my mother and father were obsessed with, apologies, my older daughter. My mother, as if she were her own lost child. I've said over and over again a replacement for Karen, which makes no sense. But the name Karen was dear to my mother, yet Karen was the child of my father's wife, who was not my mother. In other words, she always wanted to replace Karen, and I think when my firstborn came along, Why, no, when my firstborn came along, she latched on. It was very difficult for me to get a look in with my child while we were under their roof, which was 5 years. I had to fight constantly. It was a constant uphill battle to be the mother I wanted to be to my child. Not just because I did have issues such as OCD, and then anorexia and bulimia and all that. I could fight all that, but I couldn't fight my parents and their house. It felt like a threesome ganging up on me. I was under their roof, take it or leave it, and I had my parents and the house to fight, in a way. Let's not go into my father's obsession with my daughter here. I wish to Christ my parents had been more interested in their other 3 grandchildren in Doncaster. I think the fact that my mother did not get on with my sister-in-law didn't help. But of course my mother was in a position of not being able to explain herself to anyone, because her explanation would have entailed saying I am my partner's prisoner. Dickie dear. All the time that 3 of their grandchildren were feeling neglected by them, I was wishing that they would leave my child to me. And then children, plural. My father kissed me on the cheek when my second child was born. A kiss more than I got from my husband. But he didn't have the same access, thank Christ. And I was in a way in the same position as my mother. I could not explain to my family why I couldn't see them. Fear, shame, inability to travel. Fighting everything that was going on in my own damn life, and that took all my energy. I wish to God I could turn back time and know my family. But I knew what they thought of me, and I couldn't handle that either. I know that in the early years of their lives, actually, my parents did see the 3 grandchildren, my brother's children. I'm not quite sure what happened after that. The boys would have been about 6, I think, the last time I can very clearly remember. My parents seeing them, in fact, they're probably because they came to Southampton. But I can also remember my mother talking about a visit to Doncaster. And I have a photo of that, which I talked about in my book, and I'm not going to talk about on video, because it involves reading body language and facial expressions and my knowledge of my mother. There were reasons I can't go into.